Okay, so
Hola.
hola, welcome back to Meet the Maker interview series. My name's Marcy. For those of you joining in, this is a series of interviews that I'm doing with local Appalachian artists as part of the Bristol and Bloom Appalachian Art Festival that's coming up on Saturday, August 8th of this year. So today I've got Brian Serway. I'm super excited to have Brian on the call. Thank you, Brian, so much for joining me.
I'm excited.
Yay! So Brian, I just want, if you wouldn't mind, just for people who don't know who you are, because you're kind of a local celebrity, just sharing,
I don't know about that.
just sharing who you are, where you're from, and yeah, how you got started with art.
I'm originally from Forest, Virginia, which is around Lynchburg, and I've kind of hopped around all my life. Most of my family lives in Roanoke, and I lived in South Florida for a bunch of years as a teenager, and then I moved back up here for college. And I was originally studying poli-sci. That's what I majored in at Emory and Henry, and I did absolutely nothing with my degree. My mom was an artist since she was a little girl. She had done it all her life, and so I kind of she raised me as a single mom, and she was my hero. So like I kind of wanted to emulate her at a young age, and she didn't like push me into it or anything, but like I always like from like age 3 and up was drawing. But once I got like into my early 20s, I kind of fell out of it, and I would only draw like 1 or 2 things a year. And so, the whole conception of like style and like all those things kind of like were out the window. And how I've evolved as an artist has really changed a lot over the years. But I started doing it professionally about, I guess it's almost 2.5 years ago, the start of 2018. And it was kind of a fluke. Like I just started uploading things on Instagram, like on a daily basis. It was kind of like a habitual routine where I would draw something small every day, and I would upload it, and I would do that once a day, every day. And then a couple magazines shared my stuff, or magazines, and it just kind of snowballed from there. I was really lucky in that regard.
Yeah, that's actually, it's really amazing and really awesome to hear. Just because I hear a lot of like things that I resonate with as far as when you share your story. I did the same. Like I didn't draw or paint or anything the whole time that I was in college. I probably didn't start drawing again until or making art again until like 2015 maybe. And so there was like this big chunk of time that I spent not honing that skill.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what I love and what I share about a lot with people so I've connected with this group of artists on Instagram, and we sort of got like an online artist community, and we just share like, business ideas, marketing ideas, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I use you as an example all the time, and I'm like, it's just consistency. Like consistency.
It is.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, and it's the hardest thing, because it's one of those deceptive things where it sounds so easy, and it is in the in the abstract sense. It's super, and I mean it's not definitive obviously, but it is, I would say, the biggest thing that separates people who do make it from those who don't. And like it's like tenacity, like that sounds like a truism that people have heard a million times till they're numb by it, but it's like that's what it is. Like, and it's so hard to do when you're like so unsure of your work and you don't know whether you should put it out there or not. And I was totally in that place. I just kind of got to a point where I just assumed no one saw it. Like I just that's kind of like what I was operating on. And so I was like, well, who cares? Like, and it was kind of just me building a habit so that maybe one day it would work out. And that was the biggest thing that changed for me, was just doing the habit.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's just nice to know that, the way you describe it, like it's consistency, and it's a simple concept, but it is challenging because,
Yeah.
like you said, if somebody doesn't have that, like that trust in their work or that faith in their work, that's like the biggest obstacle to overcome.
Yeah, it is. It always is.
Yeah. But I think
And
that,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I think it's helpful for people to know that even in that, and it's consistency on multiple levels, consistency in posting, consistency in creating.
Yeah, consistency and quality. And I mean, obviously that's going to change and like that's going to evolve with time. But I think, when people are like, the biggest question I always get is like, how did you develop your style? And I don't even like know how to wrap my head around that answer, because people are like, I think of that as kind of an ever evolving process. And I look at my work 2 years ago, and to me, it looks completely different than it looks now, even though, a lot of the themes are the same. But like, I mean, the same answer really is, it's like, if you draw all the time, you find things that you like about your own work, and you just kind of keep putting those elements in your work. And that's what it is. Like, if you don't practice constantly, then you're never going to find that naturally. Like, it's just going to be forced, and it doesn't really work.
Yeah. And I think for people who are just starting out or are scared to even begin, I think that it's really easy to get wrapped up in that, like, I'm supposed to be a master at this already. I'm supposed to have a style already, but it is just, like you said, that consistency, and in that consistency, there is a natural evolution that happens as you follow those creative impulses.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the internet is like this like weird dichotomy where it's like infinitely cool in the sense that like you can just potentially, share your work with anyone, but it's infinitely, like restrictive in the sense that you kind of feel like you have to emulate other people, and you're constantly seeing, like, comparing yourself to other people online. And like, even now today, I look at, people that influence me, and I'm like, God, I don't think I'm ever gonna, achieve that. But it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, you're your own thing. Those, you shouldn't be trying to emulate other people. You should take influences and make them your own.
Right. And I think in so many ways, that's a lot of the pressure. And again, like you said, sort of the dichotomy that's there in social media and the internet, where people, it's one thing to, like you said, be inspired by someone, and then to feel like you need to do what they're doing or, imitate them.
Yeah, because I mean, newsflash, you're never going to do what they're doing. Like,
right.
And they're never going to do what you're doing, and that's okay. Like, and
that's what makes your work special, even.
Right. And there's so many different metrics, like, people kind of like pummel themselves with, where they're like, well, I'm not doing enough in this, and it's like, you gotta just do it, and that's it's like an internal struggle you gotta get out of your own way.
Yeah, for sure. So so your degree is in political science?
My degree, I have a double major in political science and philosophy.
Okay, so
that's why I go on political rants on Facebook. I try to constrain myself, but like sometimes I'm just like, I can't. I have to be able to do this thing.
Well, I love that because
I almost got a law degree. I'm glad I didn't get it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think about that sometimes too. As an English major, I had considered like going to law school, but then I was just like, now I look back and I'm like, oh, I could never be a lawyer.
No, I interned at law firms and I hated it.
Oh gosh.
You kind of have like a conception of something, and then when you do it, like, I did so many different things in my early 20s. And even when I started like working regularly at different jobs, I was like, I have no idea what I want to do. And then this kind of just worked out for me. Like, I never thought I'd be a professional artist. Like, and that's one way, like, a lot of people are ahead of me. We're ahead of me is like, they know they want that, and like, they just don't know exactly how they want to get there.
Right. Well, I think what I love and appreciate about your story, and I appreciate you sharing your story, is that, Summer and I, your partner that I was on the phone with just before you.
My muse. When you ask my heroes, I can just put a picture of her. My daily hero.
That's amazing. I love it. Well, Well, what we were talking about also is just this sense of just sort of a societal pressure and cultural pressure that we have for
Yeah.
achieving and feeling like we need this external validation from, you know, getting a degree and having the certificate that says, I am an artist, and
Yeah.
not being, you know, feeling like we can't naturally just develop into that, or you can't just be an artist, you know,
Yeah.
even
And
not
you
make
totally can. And I think the only regret I have in terms of like, studying art is like, I wish I had had someone to, kind of give me the basics in oil and acrylic and all that type of stuff, because there are mediums that I have absolutely no, practice in. And that's something I'm going to have to develop myself, as I get older and want to do that. But like, I think unless you're teaching and unless you just want those, or you want to teach, or you want those foundational elements, like there's no point in forcing yourself to get a degree in art. Like you don't need that.
Yeah. And well, what I think, and we've kind of spoken about this some too, and Summer and I were just sharing about that also. What I think is sort of common for Appalachian artists is that sense of like just doing it and
Yeah.
winging it and figuring it out on
Yeah.
their own, and being self-taught. I usually say like informally educated, so
Yeah.
you're educating yourself in a sense.
And that's the hardest thing to do, because when you go into a classroom, it's like you're having stuff, told to you, and you're restricting yourself in a classroom and sitting down and doing that. When you're teaching yourself, you have all the control and you have all the ability to slack and not do it. And so that's what makes it challenging. So it's like, if you think that conduit is a better way for you to do it, then by all means. It's just, for me, it worked out for us where we were able to teach ourselves in some way.
Yeah, I think what I appreciate about being informally educated is that you get to make your own curriculum, in a sense. So, like you were saying, not the unfortunate or downside, I guess, about not having the art classes is that you don't have that foundational training in different mediums like oil, acrylic, and so on. But, you still, that doesn't mean that you can't develop those techniques.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or do that. You can, but you get to do it on your timeline versus, the like whatever month span timeline that an
and if you want
implemented.
like some sort of like supplemental curriculum, Skillshare is your friend. Skillshare,
Yes.
I love Skillshare, so I use that a lot. And because I'm trying to slowly do more digital work, just not to like, not in the same lane of what I'm doing, just, to do more design work and stuff like that. Like I want to kind of have that foundational knowledge. So, that's where I'm going for that.
Very cool. So let's transition then and talk about your work. First, I'm just going to share my screen so that people can actually see, if they haven't seen.
Are you going to ask me to explain what a piece means?
I mean, we'll talk about your influences. So first of all, I am just so excited about this series that you've started with the zodiac sign.
Thank you for sharing that. The other one, my Aries one. Yes,
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I can't wait to see what you do with Libra and Aquarius and Pisces.
Oh my God. I know. I really, me and Summer were talking about that. I don't know what I want to do with the human ones. Cause I mean, I draw humans sometimes, but I'm like, I don't know if I want to do some type of like totem representation, or if I want to I think I will do humans, just it'll be interesting.
That'll be so cool. I can't wait to see.
Having the consistency, it'll be interesting to see how they all kind of fit together.
Right. And I also love that you're doing tarot cards. When I saw that, I was freaking out too. That's so awesome. So this is your representation for the Hermit in Major Arcana Tarot deck. And that is just so fantastic.
Yeah, I'm trying to give myself like a bunch of projects, so I just like stay on them, because I find like when I like give myself a theme to work with, like it helps me a lot with structure and like doing other things like in my spare time, but like that being like my driving motivating factor for the next month or two or whatever.
Yes, for sure. I feel a lot the same. So here we've got, there's Summer, your muse,
Yeah.
your model.
Got more pictures of her than I do of myself.
Yeah, that's awesome. So here's just a few of your things that you've got, well, a lot of the offerings that you have available. These stickers are really cool. Your prints are amazing. I love
you.
the gold foil that you've added. And pins also. So you're really diversifying as far as, and t-shirts. Diversifying the offerings that you have. And
I'm trying to do a pin seasonally because they're big and they take a while to make. And then I'm trying to do like a shirt seasonally too. So like every few months, like just kind of break up. And stickers I do once a month usually.
Yeah, that's amazing. So here I've got your Etsy site. So this is where
it's so fascinating to see this from like someone else's computer because like I don't know what this looks like because I always see it from mine and it's like edit this blah blah blah. So I'm like, oh, this is what a customer sees. This is cool.
So this it looks like if I look up your actual Brian Serway shop, well, it looks like it's just showing me your listings right now. Here it is.
Yeah, it's weird when you like search my name, it doesn't give you like the option for the link to the shop. It just gives you the listings. Etsy's weird. I have major problems with Etsy. You don't want to get me on that tangent, but I'm like, it's like a codependent relationship where I'm just like so used to it that I'm like, all right, fine, another year of this crap.
I'll just deal with you for now.
But as a side note, anyone who wants to open a shop ever, I highly suggest Shopify. They are
okay.
I think the best because they have the lowest rates. But
yes. So here is your actual Etsy shop. And so this is where people can go and they can find your prints. So here are some of your prints that you've got available, sticker packs that you've got available.
Yeah.
And yes, there are just so many and they're all so beautiful. And so you do some that are limited edition and then you have some that are just open editions.
Correct.
So you've got it over here, limited editions, prints, originals, stickers, and then you've got specific categories for themes or that you're following.
Yeah.
Super cool. So other ways that people can also support are through your Patreon.
So my Patreon is kind of like my blog in a way, and it's kind of like a way to provide early access for people who support me monthly. And I also do limited edition prints that I don't sell anywhere else or give away anywhere else. And I do usually once a month I'll do a special sticker that I only give to patrons.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I make it worth it,
Right. Yes. So with Patreon, these are the different levels that people can pledge per month to not only support your work, but also get access to exclusive, like you said, prints, different things. So with your work, let's talk a little bit about it as far as what your influences are. And I know you said before that, you would identify your art as being Appalachian art. So
quintessentially.
About that. Yeah.
When I was a kid, my art was a lot different. And when I was a teenager, my art was a lot different. And I was a very depressed teenager, and I used to draw like skulls all the time and like innards and like very prototypical dark art. And I was just a very sad, lonely boy, and I'd go outside a lot. And then when I got into my 20s, I had a bunch of friends, and I was in AmeriCorps, and I was outside all the time, and I just like kind of fell in love with the outdoors at a later age, and that has really influenced my art in the sense that I've always loved animals, but like contextualizing them in kind of a moody, nocturnal, celestial setting, or just it's kind of fusing all of the things that I love into one thing. And when people ask me like, what is style? Why do you use these elements and not others? And it's like, it's just because of the things I love. Like I love forests, so I always draw forests. I love wolves, so I always draw wolves. It's like I just draw what I love, and like I try to like kind of give it this like ephemeral, atmospheric quality because that's the way I like painting, and that's that's kind of like the mood I want to invoke in my work. But I would say more than anything, my work is kind of mood based, and so I'm kind of trying to give a sense of place and a sense of, like when I'm painting an animal, I'm trying to like be like, okay, this is an animal, but it's also made up of star stuff. So I'm going to literalize that by putting stars in it, like, and putting landscapes in animals instead of putting animals in landscapes. So I'm kind of like inverting weird processes and stuff like that. But I'm just stuck with that because that's what I love doing. But I also, I love to experiment. So I kind of try to like balance between, what's normal to me and what's, adventurous and kind of difficult for me.
Yeah. What I think I love about, how you were describing with putting the forests in the animals versus the animal in the forest is like,
yeah.
It's sort of this, that animals are embodying that wildness. It, like, to me, it's showing, not that animals don't already embody that wildness, but I mean,
Yeah.
like, it's showing as much, it's a very literal depiction that like animals are part of nature, and like that integration, that they're not really separate things when you think
Right.
of the forest and the animal.
Right.
They're integrated, they're together,
It's an ecosystem.
yes, and they're all part of, like, it's all part of them. And I think that's what, and same with like putting the constellations and the animals and things like that and the stars, like, to me it demonstrates and illustrates that connectedness, and that there's not, we just perceive things as being separate, when really all of these things are, born from each other.
And I think like a lot of like a big philosophy that kind of puts, kind of strains all my work together is like the philosophy and religion of Shintoism. The, kind of the idea that, there are souls in animals and souls in trees and souls in blades of grass. And this kind of idea, like you were saying, like this holistic, everything kind of works off of each other. And I'm kind of trying to, in a very liberal way, because I don't necessarily think about it while I'm working, but when I take a step back, that is kind of the driving, existential force behind my work.
Yeah, and I love that. And I think you capture that well with, the soul and the spirit. Yes, for sure. Especially in that sort of ephemeral, sort of ethereal quality that you bring.
That's the word I was looking for, ethereal.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that quality, and how you just capture that really well in a way that it translates really well. So I really love that. So aside from that, you also are interested, I know, with like A Spot of Color, the new art shop that had opened in Abingdon. You had said you were interested in offering workshops in the future. So can you talk a little bit about, maybe not those specifically, because you don't know when.
We don't know when or if they will occur, but hopefully when.
Yeah. So as far as classes or workshops that you would like to offer, what sort of things are you interested in sharing?
Well, I think it's funny because my father's very analytical and my mother's very dreamy and more left-brained, and so like I feel like I kind of got both those qualities in the sense that like I love making art, but I also love art business. So I would love, because that's one thing that's easier for me to conceptualize. I love teaching people like how to build a shop, how to gain an audience, how to be more consistent with your work, how to plan out and stuff like that. So I would definitely like to take a class or like do a class on kind of like the business side if you want to do art professionally. And then in terms of like, it would be fun to do something with watercolor pencils because that's what I use primarily, and not a lot of people talk about that online. There's not a lot of classes on Skillshare that I've ever seen anywhere for that medium. So I'd love to teach something for the medium that I use as well. And then other than that, like I think I don't know how I would teach this specifically, but a lot of people are kind of in like a frame of mind about what if they want to become an artist, what does that mean and what does that have to be? And I've talked to a lot of people who kind of see it as, oh, I have to get in this gallery. I have to do, work with this specific person. I have to build a portfolio this way, and kind of like teaching that, you can build your own path with that, I do a little bit of everything, and that's just because I like doing a little bit of everything. But you don't have to kind of fully dive into this one specific world. You don't have to be fully a DIYer. You don't have to fully work for a gallery. You can do both, and so I think that would be fun. That'd probably be on the art business side, but that would be fun to teach.
Yeah.
And then like the whole printing process. I don't know if you wanted me to show you this, but I'm in my
yes.
So this is kind of like my man cave, my art man cave. And this is my printer right here. So I have it right next to my computer, so it's easy for me to just pack. That's my shipping label printer too. It's easy for me to just pack and print. And then I have my music over here. My token apprentice cat, Sammy, over here. He's always sleeping. He's never doing anything. And I have just like a bunch of empty boxes in my closet for when I do have to ship like art, like we were talking about the other day and stuff like that. And then this is just kind of like my packing area where like if I have to like pack up bigger things, I do that there. And that's the whole room.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm so glad that I've been asking everybody, show us your studio space. Where does it happen?
Well, I can't wait for me and Summer to buy a house, because currently when I draw, and this is kind of a habit anyway, I kind of just like draw on my lap, and like I'll draw in the living room, I'll draw anywhere. Like right now I'm drawing here, but like I kind of, because I work so small, I can kind of just take my art with me. But I would love to have like my studio space and my like the business packing print space all in the same area. So that's what I ideally want to do when we buy a house.
Yeah, that's I'm hoping Adam and I have talked about building like a studio space in our backyard.
Oh yeah.
We've got
do you guys have like, I've never seen your house. Do you guys have like a backyard and all that stuff?
Yes, we've got a huge backyard. It's all fenced.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we're wanting to put like a little art studio in the backyard, because right now mine's in the living room.
Yeah, we are like desperately looking for a place that has like a garage with like a room on top, so Summer can start operating out of her house, and then we don't have to worry about rent and all that stuff.
Nice.
Kind of make it like a more holistic thing. So
yeah, that's
once this crap is all over, that's what we're gonna do.
yeah. Hopefully soon. But so that's something else too. Just going back to what you were saying about the opportunities that there are for artists.
Yeah.
And what I think one thing that you were talking about as far as like there's not just one path, like you don't I think for myself, even growing up, my idea of an artist was like, okay, artists show their work in galleries, and like that's how it works. But that's really not the case anymore. And you're a great example of that. Like you have huge success with your Etsy, your Instagram, and you've got the Patreon. You're diversifying the offerings that you have available. And so I think like it's important for people to understand those things.
Well, and one that is, I think galleries are the biggest misconception, because we're lucky that we grew up. I hate the internet, but I love it. It's like, it's this terrible thing, but it's this great thing. But it's like we're lucky that we grew up in the digital age, because it makes us able to be more DIYers, more, kind of create your own job in a way. But I think people kind of get this misconception still that, being in a gallery is like the epitome of where you want to be as an artist. And I don't want to crap on galleries, because I work with a lot of galleries that I like, so I'm not talking about them, obviously. But I've worked with plenty of galleries, and I've heard from friends that and people I've met work in group shows that I idolize, and I kind of perceive them to be like the, like I was saying, the epitome of like what an artist is. And they're like, yeah, I don't make any money, and the gallery takes half my money, and they do all my work for me. And it's like, oh my God, like it's like there's so many different avenues you can be an artist, but there's a lot of ways where that world can really restrict you, because they're kind of a middleman that you don't need in a lot of ways. I like showing my work through galleries, but I don't like show, like being, taking my business aspects and just giving it to someone else. Like I like doing that. And so depending on what type of person you are, you may like that or you may not like that. And so, but for me, it's nice to just realize that, like we were saying earlier, it's in your hands. Like you have to figure out all of that. And I was lucky enough to where one of my art heroes, Dusty Ray, him and I became friends through Instagram, and he kind of taught me a lot about, this is the printer I use, these are the things I use, get this, and this, sell this way. And I started, kind of emulated that, and it worked for me. And so I tell people that, but I say, that might not work for your style. So it's all just kind of chaos.
Well,
that was a tangent. I'm sorry.
Well, I appreciate that, again, it's a different way of looking at art, and that, again, there's, because I think what some people can get trapped in is thinking that this is the only way, and it's also another way of sort of that obtaining that external validation, and instead of recognizing that it's so much, because of the internet, it's so much easier now to do it differently.
Right. Well, and personally, I mean, getting back to like being an Appalachian artist, I am infinitely grateful that I live here and not in Philadelphia or San Francisco or Portland. And it's not because I don't like those places. It's because it's easier to fall into that trap of thinking this is what I have to do to become an artist. And we're kind of in the Wild West, literally and figuratively, in the sense that we have all this space between us, and there's not, we don't live near big cities. And so we don't really have that tunnel vision of like, that's the goal. We have it's kind of more scary for us in one way, but in the other way, it's like, it's more liberating because it's like, we have to find our own way.
Yes. And I also just want to hear your thoughts on artists that are trying to build into becoming professional artists at a time like Corona 2020.
Yeah. I think, well, and it's, if you have the means, if you're in a place where you're not working, I think it's the most ideal time you could ever imagine, in the weirdest way, because it's like, you can't really do anything but things that you like doing. And, and I posted about this on Patreon a few weeks ago, and I didn't know how to conceptualize it into a class or anything yet, because it was kind of, Corona social distancing kind of just hit, and I didn't have anything planned for it. But I really wanted to tell people, like, if you want to start a business, or you want to start, kind of foundationalizing your portfolio and all that stuff, now is the time to do it, because you have nothing but time. And it's like, you can kind of get stir crazy in the sense where you're like looking for things to do and you don't really know what to aim at. And you got to just sit down and be like, all right, this week I'm going to do X amount of things. And, but I think this is the ideal time to build that, like build a website, build a shop, build your portfolio by drawing more. This is it. We're in limbo right now.
Yeah. And that's for, been a lot of my experience too, is like, this is a time where I get to see, how do I really do with scheduling my days in a way where I have to.
I am crappy at it. Just for the record, I am terrible at it. Go on.
Well, I mean, just like, in a way where it's like setting reasonable goals for myself that I can achieve in a way that pushes me, or puts me in a position that's like closer towards that life, obtaining that life, or even simulating that life of what it would be like to be a full-time artist. And how would I do with marketing and promoting and scheduling my days and maintaining that level of productivity if I was totally left to my own devices and not and so I think this is, like, I agree that this is a great opportunity for people to dip their toes in and just see how it goes, and not only that, but also work on developing their styles and so on by just producing. Not necessarily with the intention to sell even, but just like making art and seeing what evolves and what comes out. What do they like? What don't they like? And then building off of that.
Well, and a great example of that, not to plug my fiance too many times, but Summer made her Patreon during this time, and she kind of built out like, all right, what is a tier going to be? And she had the time to like sit there and figure it out and figure out that she wanted to do a podcast and all these things. And it's like you kind of have all this abstract time to, kind of build a foundation for that type of thing. And I think that is something that on a day-to-day basis and in our normal lives kind of feels so daunting that we don't even want to attack the problem or want to start it. And now that's what makes it seem kind of so liberating about right now. That's the only thing in some ways, but yeah.
So transitioning again, I just want to talk a little bit about too, so you do have some aspirations to start teaching workshops and sharing sort of, how people can make it as a full-time artist and just techniques and things, sort of the business side of things. But you also are passionate about Appalachian artists and supporting Appalachian artists. And so you had started the Neo-Appalachian Art Guild. So can you just talk about sort of what that is and what your intention behind creating it was?
Yeah, so I mean, in lieu of the fact that we don't live in a big city where there's all these galleries and all these kind of like micro cultures for art, I wanted to kind of stimulate that and like have us, come together and because in a lot of ways it seems like artists are kind of just hiding under rocks left and right around here. And the more places like Bloom and Elder Brew and other places in downtown Bristol open, the more we see like, oh, I didn't know that person existed. Like, I didn't, and it's great to network. And so as a foundational thing, I just wanted to have, an online space where everyone that I knew and people could invite, other people had a space where they could teach one another. Oh, hey, there's this thing coming up. You should go to it. Or, oh, hey, there's this workshop. And just kind of have a place where we can all, trade information, but also meet up and potentially work together and create workshops in the future. And, with Bristol and Bloom and with the art market that I was going to host, things like that where we can kind of just host events and bring people in who are interested into like these group shows or group markets. I think a lot of people are just daunted by that because they don't know where to start. And like, if you don't know these places exist or you don't know these resources exist, you just are kind of like lost in the dark. And I think it's just nice to feel like, oh, there's a community there, and oh, I can ask this question, or reach out to this person who I may not be friends with on Facebook, but I'm friends with them through this group. So that's kind of like the baseline of what my hopes and aspirations are for it. But also like, when the world goes back to something resembling normal, it would be nice to after Bristol and Bloom, have an art market, have more group shows, meet up for other reasons, and just have more opportunities to work together and learn from one another. And that's I just want to create an art culture for this region, and because so many people around this area, including yourself, inspire me and we inspire each other, it's great to just like feel like, oh, they're right there, And even though you're in Bristol, I'm in Johnson City, Wesley's in Kingsport, Richards and Abbey, it's like we all are somewhat close together, and it's kind of like the thing that kind of the glue that puts us together.
Yeah, and I think I think us being in those different regions helps us to sort of have a broader network.
Yeah.
But I agree a lot with what you're saying, and I agree with the mission that you have with Neo-Appalachian Art Guild, like just being able to create that community of Appalachian artists that can come together and share work, share knowledge, support one another. And that was a lot to my intention with the art festival, was just to have a place where artists can, almost like a reunion sort of thing, like for artists to come together and just like connect with each other and celebrate each other, and then for people to also come and see their work and be exposed to it, because like you said, there are so many artists in this area, and they're all hiding, like you said.
And it's crazy because it's like, having an annual thing like Bristol and Bloom will be amazing because it's like the community. A lot of people who don't go to these places where we go, like they don't know, this exists, and we need events like Bristol and Bloom and things like that to, just show the community that there is an art community. Like there are all these, my work might not be, someone might scoff at my work and then go two booths down and be like, oh my God, I can't believe this person, exists, and I want to commission you to do this thing. And they would have no idea, if they didn't go to an event like that. And so I just hope we can, once we do the first Bristol and Bloom, which I know is going to be a success, like we can keep building off of that and like keep kind of doing more events and promoting more events and people learning about them because of that, and future things. And because me and Summer live so close to Asheville, I am a resident artist at a gallery there, and and Asheville's kind of like the biggest city that's kind of close to us. So I like telling people like, oh, there's this event here, blah 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 blah, and it's nice to be like, in the future to have maybe an event in Kingsport, maybe have an event, in JC, maybe have an event in Knoxville. Like, even though we're kind of separated, there are a lot of close, bigger towns near us, and it makes it nice for us to kind of create this like larger web of, places we can draw from.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are your plans? I know you said when things kind of go back to semi-normal,
Yeah.
or semblance of normal, do you
Yeah.
have any plans for other events other than, I know like before there was the nocturnal art market?
Yeah, I mean, once Bristol and Bloom happens, I want to talk to Emily about rescheduling that in the fall, because I think it would be a great thing for the fall.
Yeah.
We don't know obviously what COVID's going to do and how, if we're going to close back down and all this stuff. But I think, I haven't posted a lot about it, but I just kind of have been writing down a lot of ideas for things that I want to do, because I do want to like teach small, like informal classes. I don't want people to feel like, oh, I have to like sit at a desk and listen to you on a PowerPoint. Like, I want to just like kind of get a group of people together and sit at a table and stuff like that. But also, yeah, I mean, once we can kind of convene together, I have a whole crap ton of ideas that I want to try out. But if people are willing, because I know a lot of us, including myself, are pretty introverted. But it would just be nice to like have kind of a monthly thing where we get together and either focus on a project that's upcoming, or do a workshop, or help someone with a solo show or a group show they're doing. Like, that would be really cool. But I think the hardest thing is kind of getting people all in a room together, right? So we gotta like gin up like an idea for it, each month. But I think a monthly thing would be really cool.
Yeah, well, considering COVID has pushed us all to doing online conferencing anyway.
That is a possibility.
Yeah, if people can't be there in person, the video conferencing is an option. So
yeah, we speaking of festivals too, Big Crafty, the festival that I do in Asheville, has said, because they're in July, they've said that they're going to cancel it formally, and they're going to do, I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're kind of conceptualizing a way to do it online right now. And so I'm like, oh, that'll be interesting to see how they do that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that on a large scale yet. I've seen galleries do it, but I haven't seen like a festival do it. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I was curious too, because I saw I think it was an email or something about that. So yeah, that'll be interesting to watch, and seeing those things being taken online. But again, it's just now being in the digital age, these opportunities, like we're just this, and being in the digital age during Corona, it's to innovate a lot of things. And like you said, taking things online, it just opens up the opportunities for artists even more, to hopefully expand that network and reach.
I hope so.
Yeah, hopefully.
I mean, I think I hope if things kind of temper down, like we can get to a place where I think in August we're going to be good, and I think in September and October we're probably going to be good. I'm just worried about the winter.
Right. I think most people are. Yeah. But anyways, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I appreciate you again hopping on here and chatting with me and sharing your story.
Of course. Hold me to that offer. If you are comfortable with it, I will interview you. I'm not kidding.
Okay, cool. Well, You've
already got the questions laid out, so.
Yeah, I already know the questions except for people like y'all. You don't know the questions that are going to be coming up. So yeah, we'll text about it and set it up. But I appreciate you again sharing your story, for being such a huge supporter of the Bristol and Bloom event, for participating in it, and just for taking the time today. So I hope you all enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go grocery shopping and put my face mask on.
Yeah, cool. That sounds good. All right. Well, we'll catch you soon.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Right. Bye.